My name is Sherry Gibson, and I am a 30-year-old licensed psychologist. I work as a psychological counselor, mainly conducting online counseling from home. My husband, Joseph Clarkson, is also 30 years old. He works for a relatively large pharmaceutical company. Joseph and I met through work and have been married for 4 years. 2 years ago, Joseph begged me to remodel his childhood home to create our own house where we could live with his mother, Debbie. Ever since losing his father 4 years ago, Debbie has been disappointed and Joseph being a mama's boy instead of living together. He started to remodeling without considering my wishes. Living with Debbie was not pleasant, but I managed to endure her mistreatment. Amidst this endurance, I discovered that Joseph had a mistress. Moreover, his mistress was pregnant. I was then abruptly presented with a divorce. After finding out about my husband's affair and the pregnancy, I decided to divorce. The first step was to leave the house. To this, I set a condition. I'll be taking everything I bought. Is that okay? Yes, yes, take them. I don't need your used stuff. True to her words, I moved out all the furniture and appliances I had purchased. As I finished moving out, Joseph and Debbie came to see the situation. What they saw was a completely empty space, not a speck of dust inside. Joseph and Debbie turned pale. I had bought the furniture and appliances for an amount Joseph, relegated to a minor position in his company, could never afford. If he resented it, he should prepare everything with his own money. How did our marriage become so complicated in just 4 years? Let me unravel this story. Mr. Clarkson, thank you for your hard work as always. I used to work at a psychiatric clinic where Joseph, as a pharmaceutical company employee, would deliver medications. Every day I greeted him. No, it's my job. Isn't it tough to travel by car in this scorching weather? Is your air conditioning on full blast? I always asked Joseph such questions, prolonging our conversations. My old light car struggles when I use the air conditioner. I enjoyed these trivial conversations, but I heard that Joseph was going to be assigned to someone else. This meant I wouldn't see him anymore. Mr. Clarkson, how about a farewell party? I bravely asked, leading to our eventual marriage. Joseph was an employee at a major pharmaceutical company, delivering drugs to hospitals and clinics. I worked as a psychological counselor at the clinic. The increasing number of patients year by year was concerning. Death comes so suddenly. I know it's not the right time to say this, but I can't hold back. Sherry, will you marry me? What? Are you okay? This is not the right thing to say right after your father passed away. I'm not expecting a romantic proposal, but now, really? Joseph was deeply shocked by his father's death. His father, a carpenter, had died in a fall at a construction site. It was too sudden. I regret not being able to show my father his grandchild. He loved his children so much. I don't want to leave my mom with regrets, so I want to marry you, Sherry, and start our own family. Though it was a proposal born from his vulnerability, I was genuinely happy. However, this marked the beginning of enduring mistreatments from my mother-in-law, Debbie. Hi, I'm coming in. Why are the curtains closed on such a sunny day? Debbie frequently visited our rented apartment, located just a 10-minute walk from Joseph's childhood home. I understood she was lonely, but it was troublesome as she often stayed for dinner, leaving me puzzled over the menu. You said you work from home, but such home-based jobs don't even earn $1,000 a month. Instead of that, you should cook more dishes for Joseph's dinner. He comes home tired every day. Davy always referred to Joseph as Joe, and so did his relatives and neighbors. Mother, what I do is a bit different from home-based job. Haven't you heard about an era where meetings and classes can be held online, like Zoom? There you go again, making fun of me. You're nearly 30, a proper old lady yourself. Debbie never understood my online counseling work, stubbornly refusing to acknowledge anything unfamiliar to her. She wouldn't accept or learn anything new. I deliberately work from home so I don't neglect household chores. Why don't you just have a child already? That's your role. I could do a job of just listening to people's problems. Stop acting like you're some important person. I'm home. When Joseph arrives home, Debbie runs to the entrance to greet him. Since Joseph, their only son, lived at home until our marriage, Debbie must be lonely without her husband. I understand that, but honestly, her frequent visits are bothersome. Today, Sherry and I made dumpling, Joe's favorite. I've drilled into Sherry how to make the Clarkson family's special dumpling sauce, so don't worry. Sherry thought dumpling sauce was just soy sauce mixed with chili oil. Sherry, you should learn to cook properly from Mom. When we first got married, she'd eat fried eggs with ketchup. It's usually soy sauce, right? I can't have a decent meal unless you fix Sherry's poor taste in food. Come to think of it, Joe, you've lost weight since you got married, haven't you? I wanted to shout out that it's not true. Recently, Joseph has been gaining weight. He had a health check-up at work and was warned about his high cholesterol levels. Therefore, I've been careful with calories and carbs when cooking. Thanks to that, Joseph has been losing weight healthily. I've been living like this for 2 years, but one day Joseph said something unbelievable. I've been thinking about remodeling the family home. It's pretty old, you know. The plumbing and everything is the worst. It's hot in the summer, cold in the winter, and even though it's not in the countryside, the layout is inconvenient. It's a good opportunity to remodel the house and live there together. What? Is this a misunderstanding? Living with your mother, right? It's silly to pay rent for a place 10 minutes away from the family home. Might as well live in the family home. If we remodel it, it'll be comfortable for everyone, right? We've talked about wanting our own home in the future, haven't we? If we have kids, we'll want a room for them, and living with Mom could mean she'll help out. Where's the money for that coming from? Remodeling the whole house will cost a lot, right? You mean you'll keep paying the loan, right? My dad left us some money, which I can use as a down payment. I can handle the monthly payments within my range, probably a loan until I'm 65. Is this really okay? I've been surprised by how low Joseph's salary is since we got married. I earned much more when I was counseling at the psychiatric clinic. It will work out. So, We're good with that then. If that's the case, I have a condition. I want a workspace for myself. For your online counseling, you just need a computer, right? I need an environment where I can concentrate and handle personal information. You and your mother might not understand, but counseling is a very sensitive job. Even someone like me is their last hope, desperately trying to improve their situation. It's my mission to guide them in the right direction, so I can't do it half-heartedly. It kind of sounds like fortune telling. Counseling and fortune telling are completely different. Alright, I'll talk to the architect. Following that, Joseph's family home was remodeled. A few weeks before the remodeling was completed, Joseph suddenly remembered. I forgot the most important thing. We need suitable furniture and appliances for the new house. I'll leave that to Sherry, who has a sense of style. What? That's like playing rock, paper, scissors after the fact. I wasn't informed about this. It must have been his plan from the start to have me pay for the furniture and appliances. His contrived way of speaking made me want to retort, "Can't you act better than that?" The Clarkson family has invested everything we can into this remodel. Sherry, you're going to live in this house for a long time too. You should be willing to bear some of the cost. To be honest, you earn much more than I do. Perhaps as a husband, he feels inferior and ashamed that his wife earns more. Now that the house is almost finished, I can't refuse. If I look at it positively, I can furnish and equip the house according to my taste. And so, our new home was completed. This house feels so impersonal. I went with a black and white theme. I thought simplicity would be nice. It's only a matter of time before Debbie fills it with her stuff. She's bad at tidying up and can't throw things away. Therefore, there's a chance our home could turn into a junkyard. Sherry and I really don't get along. I wanted a home with more wood and warmth. This doesn't feel comfortable at all. You'll get used to it as we live here. Have you already prepared tonight's dinner? Recently, Joseph has been coming home early, hasn't he? Dinner needs to be ready by 7, but Sherry is just literally looking at her computer. Having a workroom made for herself, who does she think she is? If I didn't work, this house would fall apart. Saying that would be so satisfying. Debbie doesn't know that Joseph's salary hasn't been coming in. Joseph claimed it was just delayed, but I think something has happened. I'm just too afraid to ask. Hey, Sherry, why don't you see a doctor? About what? It's strange that you haven't had a child after 4 years of marriage. I got a referral to a fertility treatment specialist. A friend of mine's daughter-in-law started treatment and had twins. She was so happy. So why don't you get checked out? Then, shouldn't Joseph get tested too? Infertility isn't just a woman's issue. There's also male infertility. You always have an answer for everything. Sherry, you should learn to be more modest and considerate. Listening to people's problems with that attitude is just fraud. Don't blame me if you get sued one day. This kind of exchange happens all the time. I wish Debbie would spend her time on hobbies or traveling. Maybe we argue because we are both at home all day with too much time on our hands. I'm thinking of giving Mom a trip as a present. Joseph said this suddenly one night after getting out of the bath. Mom is turning 60, right? She looks young, but she's been having a lot of pains here and there. She went to the hospital recently, didn't she? Yes, she went to the orthopedist because her back was hurting. She got some plasters and then rubbed herself up dramatically. Booked a restaurant in Chinatown for her birthday celebration, and buy a travel voucher worth $1,000 as a present. Why do I have to do it? She's your mother, not mine. She'll be happier if her beloved son arranged it, not her disliked daughter-in-law. Sherry, you often don't understand your role as a wife. Just because you earn a bit more, don't forget this household isn't ruled by you, but by my mother. Our arguments are always about Debbie. With Joseph being such a mamma's boy, all I can do is be a bystander. While planning Debbie's birthday celebration, she came home in a good mood. She had been out for coffee at the neighbor's house for over 6 hours. Shall I make dinner today? Something good must have happened. She's so simple and easy to read. Debbie started preparing the pot and waited for Joseph to return. Joe, don't be surprised. Maggie is back home. Joseph arrived to find Debbie excited at the entrance. At the dinner table, she kept reporting to Joseph, leaving me to take care of the pot. Maggie's back? It's been, what, 5 or 6 years since she got married. She was only 22 back then. Hasn't she returned since? Well, everyone was against Maggie's marriage. She eloped. And now she's back with her 3-year-old son, who is just adorable. Maggie said, Mother? Wow, I can't imagine it. So why did she come back? Did her parents forgive her? She got divorced. Coming back to her parents' house, she must have been really desperate. But Maggie was as bright and energetic as ever. She's become so beautiful. So, she's staying at her parents' for a while. I'd like to see her. I told her to come over tomorrow with her son. Maggie wants to meet Joe's wife. I honestly thought this was a hassle. In a house where I have no memories and need to get along with the neighbors, I have a mission. Maggie was a childhood friend of mine who lived nearby. Joseph explained to me in advance. The next day, Maggie really came to visit with her 3-year-old son, Kevin. Maggie stared at me intently and smiled meaningfully. Sherry, can you play with Kevin for a bit? While Debbie and Maggie left Kevin in my care and got absorbed in their chat, I found it quite challenging to entertain him. Running around the house and not satisfied with the toys they brought, he was delighted in drawing on our house windows. It's still hard to believe Maggie is a mom. The same Maggie who used to be such a crybaby. Stop there, Joel. What are you talking about from back then? Maggie and Kevin are, of course, having dinner at our house. Naturally, I'm the one who prepared it. If you ask me, I'm surprised that Joel got married. You never seemed interested in marriage, right? So you must have really fallen for your wife to get married. Well, it was also for Mom's sake. I wanted to give her some peace of mind, especially after Dad passed away and we both were feeling down. I thought getting married and maybe having kids would make the family more lively and fun. Even though Joseph doesn't talk this much with me, he never seemed to run out of things to say with Maggie. They chatted until late into the night, and I ended up watching over Kevin the whole time. From that day on, Maggie began visiting our house frequently. The trouble was her habit of leaving Kevin with me. I had my counseling work too. I'm sorry, but I have work, so I can't watch Kevin all the time. Also, please make sure Kevin doesn't enter my room when I'm working. Counseling is quite profitable, isn't it? You charge more than $100 per hour per person, right? I think that's pretty overpriced. Just counseling 5 people a day brings in $500. It's a good business, isn't it? People who graduate from college really are different. Maggie said this with a tone of sarcasm. Having just met her recently, she was being tough on me, with Debbie fully on her side. Hey Joe, can't you go to the aquarium with me on your next day off? Kevin really wants to go. Sure, I go. Kevin is quite fond of me. Joseph began spending more and more time with Maggie and Kevin. Initially, the three of them would go out together, but lately he leaves Kevin with me and goes out just with Maggie. Isn't it infidelity to leave his wife behind and go on a date with his childhood friend? It's fine if you go out with Maggie, but please take Kevin with you. I conceded this much. You know I work from home, right? Kevin running around shouting and breaking into rooms disrupt my work. It's problematic for my profession. I have a job that depends on my patients. You always use your work as a shield. But if it's that troublesome, why don't you just quit? There's no need to work from home. A house isn't a place for work. If the family gets in the way, why not go out and work somewhere else? Is that okay, even if I work outside? You're the one who said it, Joseph. You always wanted me to be at home, so I chose a job that balances housework and work. I haven't slacked off in household duties, and I'm managing my job well. So annoying. Maggie wouldn't fuss over such little things. She's working hard raising her child, so it's only right we help her out. Really, Sherry, you're so narrow-minded and cold. At this point, the Clarkson household was practically overtaken by Maggie. At the same time, Joseph and Maggie were rapidly getting closer. One day, I overheard a conversation between Joseph and Maggie. They were openly engaging in an affair in our house. Joe has always been my ally, a hero of justice from the past. Even as an adult, Joe is still my hero. In a sweet voice she never shows in front of me, Maggie leans on Joseph, speaking intimately. Joseph, with his extended nose, even seems unclean to me. Maggie, you've had it tough. I never imagined you were suffering from domestic violence. That must have been hard. It was tough. I couldn't rely on my family, and I didn't know what to do. Kevin is still young, and if I were a more independent woman, I could have escaped and worked. I don't have an education or qualifications. I didn't have the courage to go on as a single mother. I wish I had come back earlier. Then Joe wouldn't have gotten married. Men are deceived by such words. Joseph, no exception, feels good about it, becoming even more sympathetic and attentive. Joe was my first love. That was the moment Joseph fell in love. Despite having her parents' house nearby, Maggie frequently and boldly visited the Clarkson home. Maggie, you're such a good cook. I've changed my mind about you. After having someone's half-hearted cooking all the time, This tastes so good. I feel slighted by the term half-hearted. I always cook from scratch as much as possible. To speak ill of it, Maggie's cooking is mostly high-calorie, brown-color dishes. Somehow, Debbie is trying to compare me with Maggie, making Maggie look better. I wish Maggie had married into our family. Finally, Debbie said such a thing. But if Maggie were to marry Joseph, Debbie would surely torment her as a daughter-in-law. Right now, she is kind to Maggie because she's just a childhood friend returning home. For Debbie, any wife of Joseph's would be unsatisfactory. Sherry is smart. I've heard that smart ones have trouble having children. That's right. She can't have children. That makes her unfit as a wife. Whenever there's something, it's all about work. But what Sherry really needs to do is take care of the house. It's just a matter of time before Joseph gets fed up with Sherry. When that happens, we'll count you, Maggie. Saying this, Debbie and Maggie laughed. Despite being ridiculed to this extent, I wonder if there's any meaning in staying in this house. I realized that Debbie officially recognized the relationship between Joseph and Maggie. I've gathered everyone here today to talk about something important between me and Sharon. On this day, Joseph called me, Debbie, and Maggie together for an important discussion. Maggie is pregnant. Oh, that's wonderful, Maggie. When's the due date? Which maternity clinic are you planning to go to? If it's a maternity clinic, you should go to the Anderson Maternity Clinic where Joe was delivered. Debbie's excitement rises. Sherry, I'm sorry, but that's the situation. The divorce discussion was surprisingly brief. With Maggie's pregnancy, I have no other choice but divorce. Maggie, how many months pregnant are you? 3 months. Your belly seemed quite large for that. The doctor was also surprised that it's bigger than usual. It's big, so we already know it's a boy. Sherry, you're being unsightly. You're just jealous because you can't have children. Ultimately, you and Joe are just incompatible in many ways. It's a good opportunity. Without it, Joe couldn't have broken up with you. Joe is kind, you know. He's been considerate, not wanting to hurt you. Kevin is also fond of Joe and calls him Dad. All that's left is for Sherry to step back. I quickly filled out the divorce papers, and the next day Joseph submitted our divorce papers and Maggie's marriage registration. That was quick. I still have belongings here, so I'm staying in the Clarkson house until I find a new place to live. Maggie, looking triumphant, and Debbie, in a good mood. Just seeing them irritates me. But I manage my anger. After all, I am a counselor with a certified psychologist qualification. Yet, I felt like saying something in return. By the way, can you afford to support us with Joseph's salary? What? You're bringing up money now? What about money? You're just looking down on me because you have a bit of income yourself. But you quit your job, right? Or should I say, you were forced to quit? Debbie and Maggie looked at Joseph with a surprised expression. What? What do you mean, Joe? I quit on my own accord. That useless company couldn't recognize my talents. It was a toxic workplace inside and out. Quitting was the right decision. You've been sidelined for quite some time, haven't you? The hell of having no work all day. just sitting there getting the minimum wage. Joseph, you got sidelined at work because of the big mistake, right? Even then, you clung to the company and got sidelined, but didn't tell me or your mother because you were ashamed? That's none of your business. Right. It's no longer my concern since we've divorced. So, even under these circumstances, Maggie, you still want to marry Joseph? Maggie did not answer immediately. I internally wondered if her expectations had been dashed. From my perspective, I think Joseph's mental state is quite concerning. The series of events at the company might even have traumatized him. Maggie, I hope you understand and support Joseph even with his damaged mental state. I don't think he'll be able to work for a while. That's just my opinion as a professional counselor. That's none of your business, right, Maggie? Sherry is just trying to bring Joel down because she's a sore loser. Sherry, if that's all you have to say, pack your things and leave, even if you haven't found a place yet. Yes, I'll leave. Then I'll take everything I bought with me. This led to the opening exchange. Joseph, Davy, and Maggie were at a loss, looking at the empty room. We'll manage somehow. We can't just buy new furniture and appliances. Right, Joe? Where's the money for that going to come from? Joseph got irritated with Debbie. Sherry's just being extreme, taking everything with her. That's not normal. It's her extreme nature, always either 0 or 100. That's her worst trait. Say wherever you want. It's not of my concern anymore. Enjoy playing house. Why are you being confrontational? Are you jealous? It's jealousy, isn't it? How embarrassing at the age of 30. Jealous? Not at all. After all, the child in Maggie's belly isn't Joseph's child. What? What are you talking about? Making up lies is crazy. Then, how about doing a DNA test? That will clarify everything. Joseph and your mother, both of you have fallen right into Maggie's trap. Isn't it time you realized that? The child is Maggie's belly in her ex-husband's. Maggie realized she was pregnant after her divorce, but she didn't want to return to her abusive husband. She was thinking, I wonder if someone could be the father of this child, and that's when she reconnected with Joseph and targeted him. Joseph is simple and gullible, so he was an easy target. Joseph and Debbie's face changed. Maggie remained unshaken, even after hearing this. But the timing of the pregnancy matches up. You can't lie about that. It has to be my child, right? You could just claim it was a premature birth. Men wouldn't understand that, would they? She's that prepared. You resisted your marriage with Maggie the day after our divorce, right? And you even adopted Kevin as your son. This is Maggie's ultimate goal. You've been completely fooled. You fool, haha. Well, it doesn't really matter. Blood relation isn't everything. Unlike Sherry, Maggie isn't condescending and relies on me, trusting me. For a man, that's not a bad feeling. It's being the head of the family, right? You're desperately defending Maggie, but good luck with the fatherhood. It's not as easy as you think, Joseph. I withdrew from the Clarkson household after 2 years, left behind Joseph, Debbie, and Maggie temporarily, rented a weekly apartment. They plan to furnish it with new appliances and furniture. But sorry, I'm embarrassed, but I can't afford the loan payments going forward. Shall we sell the house and move into a used apartment? Kevin is mischievous, and the baby in the belly is a boy, so we don't want a small house. Plus, in an apartment, the kids' footsteps and other noises might bother the neighbors downstairs. Can't we somehow get a detached house? They managed to sell the Clarkson house, but it was significantly underpriced. With that amount, they couldn't afford a house, let alone a used apartment, given their financial situation. Eventually, they moved into a cramped public housing unit. Joseph, traumatized, struggled to find a new job. Meanwhile, Maggie gave birth to their child. The small house was constantly noisy, with Kevin's running around and shouting, and the baby's cries echoing. The Clarkson household was completely overtaken by Maggie's family. As for me, I was hired as an advisor for a magazine's advice column and received positive feedback. Now, I have bought my own apartment and set up a face-to-face counseling room. Thankfully, I am in a state of continuous bookings.